I'm joined in our little tiny podcast studio by Louis Fraser-Wilson. Louis, let's talk a little bit about why you're here at BAPCO, because I can see you're here in uniform.
I am.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about you and what you do.
So my day-to-day, I'm a performance manager for call handling in the London Ambulance Service Emergency Operations Centre. So within the Stage 2 PSAP in the UK for London Ambulance, I look after performance for 909 telephony for a team in London in the North Operations Centre. So I line manage about 15, but then on duty, if I'm shift leading, I'll be looking after the service delivery of up to 70 call handlers split across two sites between myself and the South shift lead for call handling. It's certainly an interesting job. It's, as any job is, it becomes normalised. But my presence at BAPCO is because I was successful, as has now been announced, in the Ian Thompson bursary, which is to pursue a side portfolio that I've been maintaining separate from my job role, which is international emergency calls.
Oh, let's talk about that. So so you've won this award. First of all, what does that mean to you to win that award?
It's amazing. I was aware of the bursary from having previously interacted with members of the BAPCO board, first, funnily enough, in Helsinki. So last year I self-funded to go to the ENA conference in 2025 in Helsinki in Finland. It was a phenomenal conference, and that's where I actually met Daryl Keane, the new BAPCO, and Matt, who's vice chair this year for the next period, and it's odd that I met them in an entirely different country, but that's sort of what got me into my kind of BAPCO journey. I joined in the same year after coming back to the UK, and they mentioned in Helsinki, oh, you self-funded this. That's amazing. We have a bursary that funds some people who have joined us this year. You should apply for it next year and see if you want to go. And I thought, well, sure, why not? Maybe we'll wait and see. After I joined BAPCO, I then decided to come to the autumn event last year in Twickenham at the Stoop. That was phenomenal, a very nice sort of smaller, more intimate kind of conference. And again, it was sort of like, oh, well, have you applied for the bursary yet? This is a really good opportunity. And it was 3 separate members of the BAPCO board who came and spoke to me and said, you need to apply for this. This is a really good opportunity for you. And I was like, okay, all right.
So somebody's telling
Corralled,
you something. Yeah.
Not forced, but certainly encouraged. And so I ended up going for it to pursue this course of study. And, obviously Ian Thompson predates my entry into the emergency services world. I started in 2022, I believe, at 2021. I'm 4 years in now. So yeah, 2022 is when I joined the ambulance service, previously volunteering at St. John. So my entry into this world really is after Ian Thompson left us. But to be awarded a bursary in his name it's a real privilege. I never knew him due to circumstance of time, but the impact that he's had is still felt in the industry, and I'm benefiting from that through the bursary that's in his name. So being able to meet Amanda at dinner yesterday, I mean, presented it up the award up on stage was just a real, again, it's privilege.
Yeah.
And it's lovely that I get to do that, supported by my leadership, to represent the London Ambulance Service on such a visible stage.
So I can only imagine what sort of your work entails with the London Ambulance Service. I'm one of those people, I've mentioned actually before in a previous podcast, that I'm absolutely addicted to the ambulance programme. In fact, it was on television last night. And it's just the stress and that you as are put under in that operation. It was through that in that operations room, but you're wanting to throw yourself into more stress, aren't you, by going and studying in America? Tell us a little bit about that.
So it is a stressful job. I would say that leadership has different challenges to how the challenges I had as an operator. I was a call handler for a year. After a year, you progress to a call coordinator. I was a call coordinator for a year. So my time in the sort of the 909 call handling space was relatively brief compared to some of my peers and compared to some people who've been in the organisation for longer. But the stress that I feel as a manager, as a leader, is very different to the stress I felt as a call handler. I do still take 909 calls, and I do still interact with patients, and particularly challenging calls where a call handler might actually have been quite emotionally affected, can't continue that call, we still sort of have to step in and take them over. And you mentioned ambulance. I was actually on the ambulance TV show a few seasons back. Please don't go back and watch it.
Oh, no, that's too late now. You said it.
Yeah,
But
so
actually, it's interesting. And then you say that you have to, you can step in on a call, because I'm sure that's important as well to keep you in tune with those people that those who are taking those calls daily, in and
yeah,
out daily,
we
on a daily basis.
as managers, we try and keep our hands in, so to speak. So when there's high pressure on the control room, we're fortunate enough that we have, generally speaking, a good number of leadership. So on duty at any site, there should be 4 performance managers. Each one will lead a team of 15 to hopefully have quite a nice cohort of staff on duty. So because we have those good numbers, if there's pressure, what we may end up doing is deploying into the nines ourselves. So I'll get my headset out of my locker, I'll throw my headset on, I'll sit down next to my staff, and I'll start taking calls. And like I said, the pressures are really different. As a call handler, you can only focus on the call that's in front of you. You focus on the patient, you run through your triage, you give your pre-arrival instructions, CPR instructions, delivering adrenaline for an anaphylaxis call, right? But when you are taking a step back into the leadership role, you become very cognizant of the calls that are in the stack and the calls that haven't been answered yet. Now, in the UK, we're really lucky that we have IRP, which is a intelligent routing platform. So if calls are holding for too long on any individual trust, they'll be rerouted to another ambulance service to run through a triage and to provide CPR instruction, and then that call gets digitally transferred back to us through a toolkit called ITK. Essentially, as a manager, my concern is not so much the calls that are in progress. Obviously, we have a level of concern, making sure companions are okay, but it's the calls we haven't answered yet. Because within that stack of 5, 6, 7, climbing to 12, 15 calls that are not answered yet, there'll be a toothache, right? There'll be someone who's had chest pain. There'll be someone who's not breathing. But I don't know that until someone's answered the call. And I can't get an ambulance running on that call until I know what's wrong. So the risk of having staff welfare prioritized and trying to make sure everyone gets their breaks in time, everyone gets to take time after calls to recover, but also covering service delivery in times when, maybe due to sickness, maybe due to operational pressure, staffing can be challenged. Maybe we've got 10, 12 less staff than we would like to have optimally on shift. It's a different kind of stress. Your earlier question as to why I've decided to take on more stress with with
Yes.
international numbers, it's a passion project for me. It's something that's really, really important, and I think that people understand the importance of it as an issue, because but they don't think about it enough. And this is an issue that affects everyone who either travels internationally or has friends and family that travel or live internationally, which, as far as I'm concerned, in the modern day is pretty much everyone. Do you have sons, daughters, family who travel abroad? What we say to people is, if they texted you and they said, "I'm struggling to breathe," and you know where they are, but you don't know anyone else in that country, how are you going to arrange help for them? You can contact the embassy. You can say, there's a British citizen abroad who needs help. And Foreign Commonwealth Development Office will do their damnedest to raise some form of urgent diplomatic ticket to that country. But if the embassy's asleep because it's night in the other country, it may potentially be a couple of hours before they manage to do anything about it. So the issue of being able to handle those calls promptly and to be able to arrange that assistance with a sense of immediacy is an issue that at the moment we're working really hard on from a UK 999 112 liaison committee standpoint. In London Ambulance, obviously I've been working on that issue, maintain that portfolio voluntarily, and that's what's kind of brought me to BAPCO. I was in Helsinki pursuing that work, self-funded. I've come to BAPCO and applied for the bursary to that extent as well. And I'm really proud to share that we have had some saves that have come back to us in the form of feedback. So there's a particular case study which I kind of posted on LinkedIn a little while back. I'm able to share it because we received feedback from both the patient and his parents who called us. So there was a gentleman who was in Canada on a work trip, and him and his parents had routine. 11 o'clock every single day, they would ring, no matter where they are in the world, and have a phone call just to catch up every single day, just to check in with each other. Now, on this particular day, he hadn't rung them. And they tried to call him for about 2 hours. They kept trying to ring him. Eventually he picks up, but he's slurring down the phone. He's barely responding to them. He's barely comprehensible. And they're trying to convince him to call an ambulance. Yeah, an ambulance, dial 911 in Canada. But they're not sure that if he hangs up, he will be able to ring. So they don't want to get him off the line. So they're wondering what can they do. And his mother has the idea of, well, why don't we dial 999 in London and see if something can be done. So they do. They dial 999. They come through to one of our operators who takes all the information that they have, the address of where they know him to be, and another operator within our control room checks the list that I maintain for the trust. They find the number for the Ottawa Paramedic Service. They ring the Ottawa Paramedic Service, and within an hour from the initial call being passed through to us, the Ottawa Paramedic Service make entry to his property. They find him in quite a dire state and convey him into hospital. He spends a week in ITU. He's diagnosed with diabetic ketoacidosis. He was an undiagnosed diabetic. He's discharged, comes back to the UK. And we only know about this because we received a letter of thanks back from his parents and said, it's amazing that we're able to do this, that you can ring for an ambulance, for someone in Canada and London, and then an ambulance goes there within an hour. And that's a fantastic save that we were only able to do because the work's been done proactively. But it shouldn't be down to the effort of an individual agency who's done research into a specific country to be able to do that. I think there's a lot of fantastic resources that already exist in this space. Obviously, one of our close partners in BAPCO is the European Emergency Number Association. I'll be joining them again in Riga this year in Latvia. I'm really looking forward to it. And over the pond in the United States, we have the NINA, which is the National Emergency Number Association. And both of those bodies worked to form directories of control rooms, both within Europe and in North America. The European Emergency Number Association's directory is now owned by the ECO, European Communications Office. It was given to, basically EU decided that it had to be a more official body. We've lost.
So we've got things falling down, and we've almost got an emergency here.
And
That's
essentially,
BAPCO trying to get it. BAPCO products trying to get
jumping off the shelves. Yeah, there we are. But yeah, so essentially these directories exist, but they're not comprehensive enough. They don't cover the globe.
And we don't know about them.
Well,
shouldn't we? When I say we, I mean as a member of the general public, should we know that there's something more out there?
It's an interesting one because you want people to know that if something goes wrong, we can help. And so you want people to know the correct pathway to arrange assistance. It might not be intuitive to people to think there's an emergency in America, I'll dial 999 and go through to London Ambulance, or go through to Yorkshire Ambulance Service, or whichever trust is within that area. But actually, a year ago we weren't in a position to do so. But now in the UK, if you dial 999 and you will to arrange an ambulance for someone in America, we can do that. We have access through London Ambulance and BT as the UK Stage 1 PSAP have both signed up for the American database. So now, if I have a friend in Washington who's having a medical emergency and I'm the only one who knows about it, I can get an ambulance sent from the Washington Unified Communication Center, within the span of a very short period of time. An hour, we can very easily get the call over to them, and that's just within the last year.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of work going on in the space, and I'm very excited that there will be movement and progress. But I'm fortunate to be in a position that I've been encouraged to be sort of a driving force for it, and from both the 999 Liaison Committee, the 999 Policy Lead for the UK, Anna Barrett, who's obviously encouraging us as a committee to look at this as an issue, but sort of helping me sort of push forward with it. British ABCO, Duncan, obviously very encouraging. Daryl Keane as well. I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by people who are very encouraging, both of me as a young professional in public safety, but also understanding the importance of this issue and trying to bend over backwards to accommodate and facilitate. And our European partners in ENA are just as accommodating. We're trying to schedule meetings when we're in Riga, and the fact that the Ian Thompson bursar is now enabling me to go to America and to go to the conference in Columbus, Ohio for NINA as well. It's encouraging that everyone recognizes this is an issue.
Exciting times ahead.
We have to work on how to actually fix it.
And is it just finally, it's interesting because here we are at BAPCO and we're surrounded, all the stands around us, they're all about technology, they're all about making life easier, they're all about interconnecting, working together. And that's something obviously you're very passionate about. What my final question is, what do you want to see?
At BAPCO,
No, in terms of what your passion is about. Well, but your passion is about this service working globally.
my passion, and I think what I'll be working towards, probably for a good part of my career, is no matter where you are within Europe or North America, and hopefully, soon within Asia and Africa, if you ring the local emergency number for someone in another country who requires medical assistance, police, or fire, it won't matter which country you're in or which country the person who needs the emergency help is in, they'll connect and it'll happen. And we're not in that place yet. We're making really good strides towards it. But I think in my career, which hopefully will be going on for many, many more decades to come, when I leave this industry, we'll be in a position where actually I'll be able to leave a legacy of being even just a small part of linking up the continents and making that possible. Whether I'll be successful in that or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm
I don't know.
optimistic. I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think you are. I think you've got, and I think it's it's exciting times ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me.